Okay, so here we have the VBS suspension kit. This one's for a Defender 90. Just to let you know, or give you the impression of what is actually included in the kit when you get it, because obviously it's 4,000 odd pounds fitted and quite a lot of money, and might seem a hell of a lot to someone for what they might imagine they're getting. So here we are, that's what you get in the kit before you start. So where should we start? Well, here we are, this is what we're replacing the coil springs on the car with, and you won't necessarily know what that is just at the moment, but it's a rubber airbag, same as you'd find on Range Rovers and Discoveries, but these are specifically made for the Defender. 4 of, obviously, 2 fronts, 2 rears. You see the rears are slightly bigger for carrying the heavier weight and what have you for the towing on the rear end. We also have 4 new shock absorbers which are matched to the system, and the warranty requires us to change those, but it's obviously up to the customer. The airbags are mounted to the vehicle, and they fit where the springs would normally fit. The seat fits in here. You have a plate on top. These ones are the rear ones. Plate bolts through and holds it all together. As you can see, these are rather nicely made. They're plastic but nicely machined, all with the holes in ready. On the fronts, the airbags mount again in a similar way using the same bracket, but that takes the place of the ring underneath the turret. And here we have the front replacement turret. Everything bolts through. I was lucky that fitted. And then obviously on a normal Defender you've got the shock absorber running through the coil spring on the front and up into the turret, and we can't do that because you can't run the coil spring, the shock absorber I should say, through the centre of the airbag. So we relocate the shock absorber to the front, and so it will sit in front of the axle, and then you have the bottom mounting bracket, and the 2 will fit like that. And we'll show you that possibly on the car later. Also, here are the pistons which fit underneath the airbags. Now you'll see, certainly easier to see on the rear one, you'll see here that basically the shape of the piston, the airbag will flow down over here, and when you basically hit a bump, it rockets down this bit, and then the airbag will slow down as it hits that part. It's all quite important, the design of this, so that you get, initially the airbag drops quite quickly, which gives you a softer first motion, and slows down as it gets to the airbag's doubling over itself, and it slows down as it spreads to stop the vehicle dropping too fast. So you actually get a little bit of damping from the airbags as well as the shock absorbers. Everything's run, the air system, via the compressor. Now here is the new compressor. It uses an AMK compressor inside. You can't see it, I'm afraid, which is the same as you find on Mercedes, Volkswagen and Porsche. The air is distributed via this manifold here, through the airlines and back to the airbags using stainless steel and brass fittings. Also on here you've got a second set. So you've got 4 airbags, and you also have a second set which flow via airlines, which is an optional extra, up into the engine bay, where we have 4 Schrader valves, and you'll see you've got rear right, front left. Each of these are connected via the manifold to the airbags on the system, and this means that should you have an electrical failure, you can independently blow the airbags up separately from either a foot pump or a compressor, that's an extra compressor mounted on the vehicle you might have for air lockers, or indeed from an airline at a garage. What else do we have? We have the air tank. You need the air tank to give extra air supply so the compressor has a backup. So there's always air to fill up an airbag. For instance, if you drop the system down to its lowest setting, you then need to fill all of these 4 airbags up quite fast. The compressor on its own has to work quite hard, so that's why we have an extra air tank to basically back up the supply. Each corner is controlled via a sensor, electrically controlling the system via an electrical control unit within the compressor box. So as soon as you put a little bit of extra weight on one corner of the vehicle, the sensor will change. It will notice that, it will tell the compressor it wants some air in that particular airbag, and it will blow the airbag up until the sensor goes back to the same position it was before, and it will stop. the sensors are connected to either the trailing or radius arms via one rod onto, for instance, these are the front ones, onto a bracket that's mounted on the radius arm on the front. As you can see, this is slightly tapered, which fits over the radius arm in one specific place. The measurements are very critical, so that all the corners work independently. So you have that bracket there. They're mounted onto, the sensors mounted onto the vehicle with a bracket like so. And you can see it bolts through, and then the sensor mounts onto the Land Rover. Some people know Land Rover as well might know that area on the side of the inner wheel arch, and basically the sensor will then gently adjust the very small adjustments that are required for the vehicle to go up and down. Each corner's marked, different colours, that's blue, showing one corner. The control system, you get inside the vehicle, is done via this handset, and we can show you this in operation once it's on the vehicle. But you've got various different settings on the car which are automatic. So you've got Sport, which is 20mm lower than normal ride height. Normal ride height is just achieved just by pressing the up button. We have a car park setting. Car park means that you can lower the car down almost onto its bump stops, which allows you to get in and out of the vehicle far easier, certainly for older people, and for loading in the back. It's remarkable the difference when you open the door of a car that's been lowered. You have an off-road setting which lifts it a couple of inches above standard ride height, which you can just press the button as soon as you go into the field. You see something down on a rocky track and think, I want a bit more ground clearance, and off you go. Saves having a 2-inch lift or anything like that. Auto level, which is an optional extra, which we'll show you in a second, which means that you can level the vehicle when the vehicle's stationary and turned off, so that, for instance, if you're camping, the air suspension will level itself within the realms of the suspension's ability to keep it all level for when you're camping at night, so you don't get rolled together. There are 2 memory settings which you can set, which are for very under 5 kilometers. So basically, if you've got a garage or you have a specific trailer setting you want for loading the trailer, you can just press one of the memory buttons once you've entered the information, and it will drop the car to that particular point. You can raise and lower the vehicle by hand just by using these 2 buttons. You can select whether it's front and rear by selecting that button or both. You can, basically it sits in an easy holder, which you can have mounted where you want really, but it's also got a long wander lead, so you can actually go outside the vehicle and check where you actually want it if you're moving it to specific points. It comes with this auto level system, which in the back here you might be able to see. This is a basically a digital spirit level, and this mounts underneath the car on a flat surface as near to the centre as we can get. And that basically assesses how level the vehicle is, and when you are stationary for that camping setting, if you like, it will level it out. Other airlines, sensor wire, already in sealed connectors, all to IP69, so we can submerge the whole thing. Compressor as well, up to 1 metre in water, so if you're going deeper than that, you're in trouble. And basically, I think that's about it. We'll show something about how it's fitted at a later date.